Hi guys, you are probably looking for a new mount you want to buy, or you have an existing mount and you want to know how good is my mount. Here we go. We have two mounts to compare today. One is a famous and very well known Skywatcher EQ6R Pro, and the other one is a new kid on the block, the iOptron CEM70. Enjoy! So before we see the mounts live, we will have a quick look through our fact sheet. I collected a couple of data from both manufacturers, so from iOptron and from Skywatcher, from their websites, and put it into one fact sheet, which we have here in front of us. We will briefly compare those two mounts on paper before we go live. So the iOptron CEM70 is a center balance equatorial mount, where the Skywatcher, and I think that's the biggest difference between those two, where the Skywatcher EQ6R Pro, so the latest version, is still in a German equatorial mount. So the weight is differently balanced, and you can see that already in those little pictures on top of the slide here. You see that everything in of the iOptron mount is somehow oriented to the center, where when you look at the EQ6R, you see that the mount head, the weight is not in the central axis positioned, not really. So this is why the iOptron is called a central balanced equatorial mount, and I think this has some advantages, but we will see later. So when we compare a couple of features, we start with the payload capacity of the iOptron. That's way higher than the Skywatcher. It's almost more than 10 kilogram higher. And that enables us to bear a C11 or a similar heavy telescope for astrophotography on the mount saddle. So that's actually also, that was a limit why I bought an iOptron mount, because the Skywatcher, I'm quite happy with that instrument, but for heavier payload, you need a mount who can bear that. So when we look at the mount head weight, the iOptron is close to 14 kilogram, where the Skywatcher is 17 kilogram. On latitude range, PEC or PPEC, those mounts are almost identical. By the way, I never tried this PPEC. I use my ASIAN before I use the ASCOM drivers with my laptop, and never did PPEC. So yeah, mixed feelings about that. Never touched it. Motors, both have stepper motors with similar precision, I would say. On paper, the iOptron looks a little bit better. Slewing speed, it's similar or even identical. The slewing speed from the Skywatcher looks a little bit faster in the max level. I'm not sure if this is really true, never tested it head to head. So power consumption, the iOptron needs less amp during tracking based on the manufacturer websites than the Skywatcher, and max consumption is also lower during slewing. So if you slew to a target, then the iOptron takes 1.1 amp away and the Skywatcher takes 1.9 amp away. And I measured actually the 1.9, and that is really that's true. I saw that figure as well. Power supply, both mounts need 12 volt DC. I have a power supply of 5 amp with the Skywatcher. With the iOptron I have I think also a 5 amp power, because I have also to support my other ear with that. Polar scopes, yes, both mounts come with polar scopes built in. The polar scope of the iOptron is there. Yes, there's a camera there even, but you can't look through the polar scope. You need a computer. Where for the Skywatcher is the traditional or a more, let's say, basic one. It's a little telescope built in, and you can use it for polar alignment. So that's quite nice. Tripod, the iOptron doesn't come with a standard tripod, where the Skywatcher has one included. That's a big advantage for the Skywatcher. Counterweights. You receive the iOptron with a 5 kilogram counterweight included. The Skywatcher comes with two 5 kilogram counterweights. You can connect your telescope with a dual Vixen or Losmandy level, and that is true for the iOptron and true for the latest version of the Skywatcher. This information which is written here, Vixen only, is based on the old EQ6, not the new R Pro version. Both have hand controllers. Yes, never connected my other ear through the hand controller, so I didn't use the iOptron hand controller, only for the initial setup, and then that was it. Where for the Skywatcher I used it in a couple of times, and that's okay. The controller does a job, so nothing more, nothing less. Auto guiding, both have an ST4 port on it, and I don't use it. I connect my other ear with the USB port. Connection here, you see both have serial and USB ports. We will see that in a couple of minutes live at those mounts. PC connection, yes, of course, you can do that via ASCOM networking. And finally, last but not least, price. The iOptron is, of course, higher priced than the Skywatcher, and we will see if this really gives an advantage. Okay, let's go and see the mounts live. Thank you. And here they are, those two beauties. On the left side, the EQ6R Pro from Skywatcher, and on the right side, the CEM70 from iOptron. Okay, so what do we want to do? We will compare first the tripod, second the polar alignment knobs, third the mount head, fourth the connections, fifth the saddle. Okay. We will go Skywatcher first, iOptron second. Let's have a look at the tripod. The tripod here comes or is included in the package. It's a solid tripod made of steel legs, and you see they are really solid, you know. And what you should know is here there is a kind of platform which also separates the legs in equal distances from each other, and then to fix the tripod to the mount head you need this screw, and you have to release this screw first and then the second screw, and then you fix it like this until it really goes inside of the mount head. And be careful, I did it the wrong way once, and the mount head was loose and fall on my knee. So that is not a nice experience. You don't want to have, because the mount head has a weight of approximately 17 kilograms. That's way too much
to be dropped on a knee. So again, the tripod is very solid, it's nice, but it's nothing special. The legs are, you can extend them, which I wouldn't recommend, because then you have flex in your system. Okay, let's have a look at the tripod of the CEM70. Alright, the CEM70 doesn't have a tripod which comes in the package, so you have to buy it extra. So it's another 700 to 1,000 euros or British pounds or dollar. Yeah, what did I do? I bought a tripod from Berlebach, and this tripod is made of wood. And it's a very solid material. It's really nice. It has a nice touch, and it comes with a little platform where you can store, like what I do here, my power supply. And the tripod itself has very nice legs, and those legs have spikes at the end, and those go really deep into the soil and have a very nice fixation. For fixing the mount head to the Berlebach, that's a little tricky. So what you see here is an Allen screw. Yeah, you have to move inside, and that is really tricky. You know, it's really difficult to do. So I wouldn't recommend it doing this at night. You have two, one on each side, yeah, which you have to fix to the mount tripod, and when it's done, you are happy, but it's not that easy. But when it's there, it's very solid and robust, and yeah, really nice. Okay, what comes next? Mount head and polar alignment knobs. Okay, let's go to the Skywatcher. Okay, here's a mount head, and where are the knobs for alt azimuth or for polar alignment? So this is for azimuth, left and right, and this is for altitude, yeah. And with this screw, you move it up and down, and it's a little bit tricky, but yeah, it works. So that's not the best construction, I would say, but yeah, it works. And you see already the knobs becoming rusty, so the quality is also not the best one. But on the other side, I keep the mount outside the whole year, so that's not a surprise to me. Okie dokie. Counterweights. You see I have here 3 counterweights. Each of them is 5 kilogram. And I have an extension of this bar, but I don't use it again because of flexure in the system. Here you can fix it, the length, I mean, of the bar, and yeah, what else here? Let's move on to the CEM70. Okay, here things are a little bit different. The altitude knob is this one, and you move it putting your Allen key inside, and then turn it up or down what you need. Also keep in mind you have to release those 2 screws here on both sides before you move it. You see there is a scale attached here. I'm beyond 50 degree, so this is the rough one you have to fix, and then keep it a little bit released. Move this screw slightly up or down what you need, and then fix it here and there. All right, so The azimuth knobs are here on that side. This is left side, this is right side. You have even a little scale here, probably you can see that. That's really nicely done, and the turning of the knobs is really easy. Piece of cake. Okay, that was the alt azimuth knobs and the mount head and the counterweights. Yes, counterweights looks again very solid. There's a really very robust bar here. It's thicker than from the Skywatcher, and yeah, I keep it as it is, and it's really nice. So let's have a look at the connections. Connections of my Skywatcher. We have to move around here. You see that here there is a power supply which you can screw in now. That's really nice. Auto guiding port I don't use. The ST4 port I don't use. The USB port I do use. Here I connect my other ear to my system. This is the on-off knob, easily done. And then there is a red light below here. But I don't want to have this light because it interferes with my photos, so I keep it like this. Okay, that's the connection screws, and you see my power supply goes into my other ear, and my other ear then powers my Skywatcher. Okie doke, let's move to the CEM70. Okay, power. How do you power the CEM70? That's easy. You see here, there's a power knob. You can turn it on and off. And you hear a beep after a couple of seconds. And this is the connection for power supply. It's a, I think it's a 2.5 millimeter instead of a 2.1, which I usually use. And it's 5 amp and 12 volt connection, as you can see here. Alright, again, I don't use the ST4 port. I only use the USB port, which again is connected via a USB-A to B cable to my other ear, and that works like a charm. So that's really nice. And the thing is here, you know, the power supply goes into the mount, and then the mount powers everything. Where with the Skywatcher I have to power my other ear, and the other ear then powers the mount. So here's the opposite, and I like it because everything what I need is here on that saddle where we go in a moment, and to see what kind of connections do we have here. So at the moment, the connections of the mount head itself, that's really nice. And again, I use a USB port for my other ear, and the other ear will control all my systems. Okay, the last one is the saddle. Let's have a look at the saddle of the Skywatcher. You have two screws here moving the saddle. It's a Vixen and Lost Mandy style saddle in this new versions of the Skywatcher EQ6R Pro, and that works, but I would prefer to have a little bit larger saddle and more distance between those two knobs. All right. So, but beside that, it's a solid one, but you don't have any connections here to power. No USB ports, nothing. So that's really a pity, but okay. we have to take it like this. Let's have a look at the CEM70. The CEM70 saddle, as I mentioned, or probably not, it's also a dual saddle, Losmandy and Vixen style. You have those two plastic screws here, which are moving in and out. Here, this one as well, that's nice. And the saddle has connections, and that's really, really nice. So I use actually only one. This is power out here. You have two of them. I hope you can see it. Here we go. And this powers my Aussie Air. So power in is here, and power out, you can choose one of those two here. And that's really nice because it's very close to the telescope, and yeah, you will not have any problems with cables who are causing problems. So that's really, really nice, and that speaks in favor of the CEM70 in my opinion. Okay, so guys, now we had a look at those two beauties. We will now go put the telescopes on it and have a look in the second part of the performance of those two mounts. I hope you enjoyed it so far. Let's go to part number 2.